Time doesn't work for everybody. But so I'm gonna go through a few slides here about housing resources and kind of give you a high level view of the things that we have available, a little bit about Cleveland, some of the types of residences in our area, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tom and Kathy to answer your questions. I gotta run to another meeting. But to kick things off, first of all, just a few updates. Just one thing, a couple of things we want to emphasize. Now that you've been accepted, some people asked us about communication going forward. If you received and have activated your Case Network ID, you have access to Case email. And so we're going to continue to communicate to you through the email address that's in AMCAS, because that's populated in our admissions platform system. So we're going to keep communicating with you that way. As we get a little closer into May and June, we're going to start to tell you to start to peek at your case email. But for now, it's all going to come to you to the email address that you have in AMCAS. If you have to change that email address in AMCAS, you are able to do that in AMCAS. It's one of the few things you can update is your contact information. And once you do make that change, it will then populate to Case, and any other medical school that you applied to will have that updated email address. So you can do that. But for now, we're going to keep sending you those things. We have the Facebook group and the GroupMe going. If you want to join the Facebook group, and if you haven't, and if you have a name that's like, there's somebody named Tommy Toms that keeps trying to get in, and I don't know who Tommy Toms is, because I look at our accepted student roster, and if your name doesn't match, I don't let them in. Because we've had, I don't know about you, I don't use a whole lot of Facebook anymore, even though I'm old. But like my wife and I almost got scammed with like Taylor Swift tickets last summer or something like that. She was crying, it was bad. And so, but that was in a closed group. So I try to really police that group so that we don't have, people coming in there that are not accepted. So if you have an alternate Facebook name, just let me know and then I'll let you in. But until then, your name has to match. All
Same for
right.
the
So
group me too. I'll say that as well. I know I've corresponded with some of you via email looking to get access to the group me, but just email us. I'm dropping our email into the chat again. If your name is different than maybe what's on AMCAS, or drastically different than what you're requesting on the group me or the Facebook group, let us know and we'll approve you. No big deal. But we
yep,
just want to make sure this is a private group
yep,
just for accepted students. So thanks for.
yep. And so I talked with Jen Toomey, our director of financial aid. She's going to be hosting a financial aid application, just kind of a check-in Q&A later in February. So probably about the last week of February, she wants to get that out. So just an opportunity, if you're applying for financial aid, if you have questions or your family has questions, it's kind of open to anybody. And it's just a check-in and have your questions answered there. I want to go back. I mentioned the Case Network IDs. If you've activated them, if you were the group that was accepted on February 3rd, we're going to be working on getting your Case Network IDs hopefully later this week. And so we've just been working with our tech team to get that stuff squared away. So give us a few more days here and our plan is to get that out to you soon. Next week is a kind of a milestone in your application process. It's when a tool opens up through AMCAS called Choose Your Medical School. And it will become active. You'll get emails from AMCAS about it. And we usually send an email out about our case specific things that apply to Choose Your Medical School. And there's also be information on Accepted Central. There's nothing, truth be told, you don't have to really do anything on February 19th, except you only can choose plan to enroll at the schools you've been accepted to. You can click plan to enroll at one, but the next day you can plan to enroll somewhere else. The med schools don't see that data individually. We see aggregate data. So we don't see individual names of that stuff until May 1st. That's when we start to see individual information. So for right now, it's aggregate. But that's just something coming down the road you'll be getting emails about next week. And then we'll start doing a lot of onboarding, pre-enrollment, webinars, Zoom meetings, stuff like this coming in May and June. So we'll start to amp this stuff up. We usually meet with our incoming class about once every week and a half just to check in. Here's some updates, questions you have. So they can last about a half hour or so, but it's a way for us to help to onboard everybody efficiently. So a lot of things coming down the road. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about relocating resources and a little bit about Cleveland here. So settle in to it's always sunny and 75 here. And because we're located along the sandy shores of Lake Erie, one of the best Great Lakes in the land. So just a little geographic representation here. I know some of you have not been to Ohio before, or really sat down and maybe looked at a map and refreshed yourself on where we are. But we're about 2 hours away from Pittsburgh and about 2.5 hours away from Columbus and 4.5 to Cincinnati. And I think about 5.5 hours just shy of Chicago. So just a little quick geographic orientation. And then I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on here in Cleveland. Many of you have probably not experienced downtown Cleveland. There's been quite a bit of new construction in the last few years. There's an area called the Flats downtown. That's a big social district. There's a nightclub called Forward Day and Nightclub. I used to be able to say I'm not cool enough to have been there, but I have been there one time, but not at night for anything cool. It was a fundraiser, so I guess it doesn't count. It wasn't dancing, it was spinning on a bike. It was a bike. I get a spin anyway. And then West 25th in Ohio City, we'll talk about them that area a little bit, but West 25th in Ohio City has had a lot of updating and new construction. Other things downtown, Public Square is the main area right in downtown. The skyline has changed here in Cleveland with Sherwin-Williams' new headquarters built downtown. Sherwin-Williams is a paint company. A local grocer is called Heinen's. There's several Heinen's grocery stores around the area of Cleveland, and they have taken over an old bank. It has this beautiful rotunda in it. It's really a cool place to go grocery shopping because it doesn't feel like you're in a traditional grocery store. In the upper left corner is a picture of West Fourth or East Fourth Street. That's right by the kind of the sports district where the Cavaliers play and the Cleveland Guardians play. So a lot of restaurants along there. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is right along the waterfront. They are also undergoing a huge renovation right now and adding on. The bottom right is Public Square. That is our Playhouse district, our theater district. It's the second largest outside of New York City. It's amazing to go see shows there, a wide range of things. And bottom left is the West Side Market. The West Side Market's over 100 years old, and they too just got a major funding to do huge renovations starting this summer. So a lot going on. And then there's the sports aspect. Cleveland's a big sports town. We have the Cleveland Guardians who are outstanding. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going into, I mean, they're on fire and they're going into the All-Star break with the best record in the league. So they've been fun to watch this year. And the Browns are always entertaining, whether it's on the field or off the field. There's always some kind of fun drama to follow with the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so if you're a Clevelander, there's an east side and a west side, and it's divided by the river downtown, the Cuyahoga River. So I'm a west sider, but Tom and Kathy are east siders. Now, there aren't a whole lot of West Siders that work at Case Western, so I have special shots and papers and stuff I got to carry with me to get over here. But there's an East Side and a West Side. So as you start to talk to Clevelanders, they might ask you, which side of the city you live on? Like, oh, East Side. That sounds like you kind of know where you are. So we're located on the East Side. So that we, being Case Western, is located on the East Side in an area called University Circle. It's where the university is located, 3 of our 4 hospital partners. It's really kind of the cultural hub of the city. And it's where the museums are as well. So, and the Severance Hall, the home of Cleveland Orchestra. So it's really, again, the cultural hub here. And so there are some surrounding communities around University Circle called Cleveland Heights, Little Italy, which is more of a neighborhood, Shaker Heights, and University Heights. Part of what we want to do in this presentation to you today is start to socialize or help you become familiar with some of the names or neighborhoods so that it'll help you start to figure out proximity as to where you are in relation to the university or to the health education campus. So to start giving you a little bit of Cleveland language about our neighborhoods and locations. So here on the east side, this we're in the University Circle area, and that's where the Star is, or that's where where the health education campus is. And I put this red oval here as probably the most attractive area for most of our students to live. This Cleveland Heights, Little Italy, Shaker Heights, University Heights. But most students, if they're not living in the close proximity of the health education campus, they're usually living in Cleveland Heights. Other areas around here, South Euclid and Lyndhurst, that's more residential or more traditional residential, if you want to think of it that way, where some students have purchased or rented homes if they have small families. It's a little bit, you get your own kind of backyard and that kind of stuff there. So something to keep in mind. And there's also downtown Cleveland. There's a lot of residential apartment living in downtown Cleveland, Tremont, and Ohio City, which I'll talk about in a moment. But those are about 3 miles west of where that Gold Star is. So the west side is the near west side would be Ohio City and West 25th Street. That's where you'll find what I showed you, the West Side Market. And it's an area, Tremont, Ohio City, again, kind of neighborhoody places within Cleveland and all kinds of eclectic restaurants. If you're a foodie, you'll find your place there. There's a ton of microbreweries in that area. We have more microbreweries in Cleveland than the rest of the state of Ohio. And a lot of these places have been featured on your favorite, food channels and things like that. So that's kind of really an area where are really cool restaurants and some bars and things, nightlife kind of stuff there. So that is the near west side of Cleveland. Okay, so what's around here? What's around this University Circle Case Campus area? Well, when you think about fitness and recreation, we get a lot of questions about this. The Veal Rec is the recreation center on campus. It's the one that comes with your tuition. It's like the one that undergrads go to, grad students go to, staff, whatever. Anybody can go in there if you're a Case employee or student. It's not across the street from the med school. That's an old thing. Whoops, I gotta fix that later. And also one-to-one. One-to-one is like a club membership. So, and it's right by Veal. I mean, it's like they're right near each other. And grad students are automatically enrolled in one-to-one. And if you're like, I don't want to do that, there's an opt-out option that we will walk you through after you get here as a student, and you opt out through your student information system. So nothing you need to do right now. But one-to-one has classes. And Tom, do you go to one-to-one?
I do not. I'm actually going to drop something in the chat. Veal has an indoor track, weight room, cardio machines, and then I have been to one-to-one, but I don't go there currently. One-to-one would be like additional extra, and like Christian said, there's that opt-out option.
But if you keep the membership, you can go to as many classes as you want to, that kind of stuff. So that's really a place where they have like Zumba and cardio kickboxing and those kind of classes. And they also have weight room and cardio machines and stuff like that, but it's a little different scale. And then Little Italy is a neighborhood right adjacent to the campus, and restaurants, art galleries, as you can imagine, Italian restaurants are primarily there. Coventry is another area it's near the college campus, and it's really a road. Coventry is a road, but that's where you have that kind of college town vibe there with coffee houses and some bars and restaurants and things like that. University Square is a little farther out. Target, Walmart, Whole Foods. Asiantown isn't too far away from the health education campus, and that's you find your dim sum and boba teas and an Asian grocery there. Beechwood Place, a bit farther east, and that's a mall. It's a traditional mall. The anchor stores there are Nordstrom, Saks, Dillard's. You can find your J. Crews and Banana Republics and your traditional kind of mall stores there. And Legacy Village is right across the street from there. So that's your outdoor shopping experience. And so Cheesecake and Nordstrom and Apple is out there. Dick's Sporting Goods, LL Bean's got a big store. And then lastly, for the Costco members, about 25 minutes east of here is Costco. And Tom was there yesterday and loading up on water for open house. So there you go. There's this kind of like what else is around as far as like neighborhoods, shopping, and that kind of thing. The museums are in University Circle area, as I mentioned, including the Botanical Gardens. Severance Hall is right down the street from here. That's where you'll have your white coat ceremony and graduation in a few years. It's a spectacular concert hall, and it'll blow your mind on White Coat Day, and that the minds of your family that come as well. They also have a really good ticket option for students, and the Playhouse Square, like I mentioned, is a very large theater district, and I know students frequently take advantage of that. The music scene here in Cleveland is, I love it. It's outstanding. I participate in it quite a bit as I can, and so I can't say enough about the music scene. Shaker Lakes Park is not too far away from here. Some walking and running paths. Tom, have you ever ran there?
I have. It's beautiful. Any runners, joggers, it's a paradise. I'd recommend it.
So it's not too far away. But if you want to go a little bit farther from here, Cleveland Metro Parks is a network of 60 miles of paved trails, running trails, walking, inline skating. There's 3 golf courses. There's stables to go horseback riding, and it kind of goes around the perimeter of the city through the county. And you're kind of never more than about 10 or 15 minutes away from an entry point into the Cleveland Metro Parks. So there's that as well for all you outdoorsy kind of people. All right, so where do most students live? A couple places, either kind of the Cleveland Heights area, because I think one of the reasons why is you have proximity to other classmates and you have proximity to the school. That's about a mile and a half away from here. There's restaurants, grocery stores, banks, shops, that kind of stuff. Then the second option would be in the vicinity here, the health education campus. That's where most of our students live. So those local neighborhood names are to become familiar with: Little Italy, Coventry, Cedar Fairmont, Overlook, Euclid Heights Boulevard. That's when people kind of say, like, where do you live? I live on Overlook. Oh, where do you live? I live by Cedar Fairmont. It's just kind of an area or a vicinity in Cleveland Heights. I'll come back to that. I'll show you a map here in a few minutes. So what are kind of the average rental rates? We worked with financial aid office and came up with these figures. There's quite a bit of a range. Average rent for our students for M1s was anywhere from $505 a month, and then it could be shared with amongst other, if they have 3 or 4 roommates, to $2,200 a month. Utilities ran about an average $110 a month, and parking was about 25 if it's parking, at the location where they live. I talked with Jen Toomey, our director of financial aid, and she said she was hearing from incoming students last year that we asked them about how much do you usually kind of plan to arrive with? And it was about $5,000. And not saying you got to maybe arrive with cash, but just like sometimes when you rent someplace, you got to put down first and last month's rent. Then you have some moving expenses, or you got to get some furniture and things like that. So there's some miscellaneous costs kind of on the startup front end. And I mentioned this because I realized that not everybody's moved into an apartment before. And so this may be a new experience for some people. And so you need to be kind of prepared and maybe kind of thinking about that now or talking with family members now about what that might look like. And I would strongly consider getting renter's insurance. Some apartment management companies require you to have renter's insurance to rent with them. So on average here in Ohio, it's not that expensive. It's really affordable. It's just less than $12 a month. And there's usually a management company will require a certain minimum amount of coverage to have. And I'll tell you what, over the years of being here, I know that this has come in handy for some students, because things have come up that they were glad they had renter's insurance. Remember one year, a woman was living in an apartment building that had several floors. There was a small fire in one of the kitchens a couple floors above her. Fire department came, poured a bunch of water into it, of course, but all the water came through the floor, through the ceilings, and got all her stuff wet, ruined, some of her electronics and things like that. Wasn't her fault, but sometimes stuff happens. So if you're management company doesn't require renter's insurance. I think it's a responsible thing to have just to kind of cover you. And it covers all kinds of stuff, laptops, bikes. So it can really cover a broad range of your belongings. All right, so a little map action here. Here's where the HEC is. We're between East 93rd Street and 100 East 100th Street. And again, a lot of students live in this area here with this dark blue oval there. We're between Chester and Euclid Avenue. So a lot of students live in this area and a little bit farther east to Euclid Heights. Or I'm sorry, Cleveland Heights. Couldn't get it all in here. And then I wanted to point out there's a set of townhomes that goes right down the middle between Chester Avenue and Euclid, just down the street from here. And it's really close to Cleveland Clinic's campus. And so some students live in these townhomes down here. I know students have found them like through like Craigslist and some other kind of rental companies, but sometimes these are privately owned and then rent it out. So it's not like you can go to woodhavenbeacon.com and find a residence there, but usually people will, they're looking to rent their place. You find it on the places that you would think of, like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or apartments.com. So these are kind of the areas we recommend to kind of stay within. There is residential areas in this part of the Cleveland called Huff. It's a neighborhood. We're still kind of new here in our area of Cleveland. This is not a built out, it's a residential area, but it's not like a campus area. So, I guess I wouldn't say I'd recommend, you're not going to find the kind of housing like college or, graduate housing in this area. Some of these other areas are more built for that. Like, so Cleveland Heights, this like townhome things, and some of the apartments I'll show you here that have cropped up over the last couple of years since we've been here. Here's now a little farther east to Cleveland Heights, Little Italy University Circle. So here's Case's main campus over here, Euclid Avenue. And I'll just point out some of I remember mentioned earlier, like Overlook Road. Well, there's Overlook, and then there's East Overlook, and then there's South Overlook. There's those things. Here's Fairmont, Cedar Fairmont. Here's a little neighborhood here where students live around. Coventry. Where was Coventry? I can't see it. Oh, here's Coventry. So here's Coventry. That this main drag here is where a lot of that's kind of has that college town kind of vibe. So some people live here in this area. So the HEC is just to the left side of the screen. So it's about a mile away from here. So you're going to find a lot of different kinds of residential areas here, options. So what are your options? There's all kinds of stuff. So we have your traditional apartments like multi-room, single room, some of the complexes available like Waldorf, Triangle, a place called Centric. I'll show you some more in a minute. There's two-story duplexes that would be like the one here in the bottom right. Again, we're showing you this stuff because some people are coming to us from other parts of the country where you're not used to seeing this type of different housing options. So duplexes, people live on the first floor, some people live on the second floor. Single family houses, some students rent them together. We've got some condominiums and townhomes, or these kind of a smaller apartment complexes. A lot of these are within walking distance or biking distance of the HEC, but there's also a very robust bus system that comes there's a bus stop right outside our building. So there's that aspect too. Here's an example of Cedar Glen Apartments. Some students lived here. These were some of their pictures they shared with me a few years ago. This is just not too far away. It's called Cedar Glen Apartments. Pretty nice place. It's an older building. I looked it up. It was built like in the 1920s, so it has like old school kind of hardwood floors and interesting brick architecture and stuff like that. So kind of old school. Here's Park Lane Villas. This is right around the corner from here. It's kind of like more like hotel living. It can be a little expensive. I know some faculty have lived there, but it's kind of this hotel apartment style living. And this view here is that's where the Case Performing Arts Center is, the Maltz Performing Arts Center. So that's like, we can see that from one of our windows in the third floor. So it's not far away at all. All right, so now some of the newer things, newer, Uptown Apartments. That's more on Case's main campus, a mile away. And they have, this is kind of what it looks like. And there at the Uptown District is not only apartments and some condominiums, but that's where you have all the home cooking, right? Chipotle, Panera, Jimmy John's, Potbellies, like that kind of stuff, and some other commercial property there. So it's a little more there's a little more going on up there, but that's about a mile up the street. And then back closer here to the HEC, Inova is right across the street. So here's an aerial view. And so here's the HEC here. Inova is immediately across the street from here. So some students live there and they just walk across the street. This is Chester Avenue that I showed you earlier. And so some students live there. Some other newer options. One University Circle, it's just, again, right up the street from here, not far, about maybe quarter mile. It's a little more expensive, we've heard. Like I've heard some people I know some students live there, but more people that I say empty nesters who are downsizing and moved in there. Some faculty live there, current physicians or residents at our hospitals live there. Addis View is right kind of behind us. It's literally across the street, relatively new, just opened up last year, I believe. Centric Apartments, also right by Cleveland Heights. So a lot of new places have been cropping up since we've moved in here. The Artisan is right down, like just almost across the street from Inova. I mean, it's just it's right down the street from here. 10-minute walk. A new place. Medley Apartments opened up last year. It's on East 100th, and it is apartment living upstairs. And on the first floor is a grocery store. It's owned by Meijer. Meijer is a grocery chain here in Ohio, kind of the upper Midwest, and it's called Fairfax Market. So really convenient. I was just over there the other day picking up some stuff before I headed home and bumped into a couple students grabbing some groceries. So it's kind of like seeing your teacher at the grocery store. A little awkward at first, but then it was fun. um, and then a couple other new things that just opened up. Library Lofts is just right down the street again, maybe quarter mile walk. And it's on the same block as the Artisan that I just showed you. And then right behind that, they've just built and opened up Library Lofts. A development company pretty much has bought that entire block, and they're going to be putting up a whole nother high-rise building in the future with a bunch of commercial all around that block. But what used to be there, what was around the corner from where Library Lofts was a Cleveland Public Library. And they bought that, and in order to buy the property, they made a deal with Cleveland Public Library to put a library in the first floor of Library Lofts. And so that library has been moved over here. And so the first floor of this is a Cleveland Public Library. And then above it is the apartment living. So that just opened up, and the library just opened up in the last month. So brand new property. And Loomis Apartments is right down the street from here as well. Another new place. And there's more. The Ascent at the top of the hill. That's just going into Cleveland Heights from here, just a mile up the street. Big complex, right at the top of the hill. As you go up the hill, that's why it's called. You can't miss it. It's right at the corner when you are going that way east from here. And then Aura is a brand new one. I just saw that opened up. That's behind the grocery store place. So a lot of new property has been opening up around here and just popping up in the last couple years. So where do you find more of these resources? Well, we've put a lot of these relocation resources on Accepted Central. Just turned that page on today. The class Facebook page will get more active as we get closer to May and June. Sometimes property companies contact us and say, hey, or somebody has like a piece of property they want to rent out, but they don't want to put it everywhere. They'll contact us and ask us to advertise it on the Facebook page. So we'll post stuff on there. Sometimes graduating students will say, hey, my landlord wants to rent to other med students. We're leaving. Can we give you their name and information, or can I post pictures on there? They'll put it on the Facebook page. Just an easier place to put things as it comes kind of passing through our office. You'll notice on the page on Accepted Central, we call it like the Housing Satisfaction Survey. And this thing has been live or been available for like 10 years. And so there's like over 600 entries on there from students who have been here over the last 10 years. And there's a form we ask them to fill out about the property they lived in and would they recommend it? What kind of amenities did it have? Any comments? We try to ask them to be as objective as possible. This is not a place like to rant about the management company that you worked with, but I think it's a great place to cross-check an address. So if you're looking at a property and you're like, I think we kind of like this, maybe go into that spreadsheet, and you have to use your case network ID to get into it. But then cross-check if any other med student over the last 10 years has lived there and what they said about it. And so again, kind of just a place to cross-check. And then there's also a really helpful off-campus resource. There is a staff member here at Case, named Vicki Valo, and she's an off-campus housing coordinator. And so her information is on that page in Accepted Central. So if you want to reach out to her for assistance, she's great and very helpful. So just keep things in mind. If you're coming to visit here and you're looking at some properties, call and make an appointment. Don't just think you're going to show up and knock on a door and people are going to let you in. Try to talk to other tenants. Google the landlord or the management company. Actually read the lease. And that's important to do. And sometimes you may be asked to show some proof that like ability to pay or something like that. We've had some students in the past contact us and say they're asking for a pay stubs. I don't have a pay stub because I am not working. But I need a copy of my acceptance letter, or can I have something in writing from the admissions office? And so we've gotten some requests like that in the past. And so if your management company or landlord's looking for something like that, and you're like, I don't have that, but can you help me out? Just email us. We'll try to work with you to give them the information they need to prove that you're an incoming medical student, if they want some, double check on that or some kind of verification. So just let us know if you need something. How to cut costs. I mean, hey, getting roommates can always help out in cutting costs from rent to, buying household items. You will see this soon, but not right now. We'll set up a Google sheet that if you want to opt in to looking for a roommate, we'll post that in there. You put in some information about who you are, what you like, and that kind of thing. And you can put your name in there and then start to look for other people that you might want to get in touch with. So that's an opt-in kind of program. So we'll put a Google sheet on that housing resources page probably in the next month or so. All right, we're almost wrapping it up here. So a couple things about transportation and parking. Do you need a car? Generally, yes, but we can't require you to have one. We can require you to have 2 semesters of a general chemistry and a semester of biochemistry, but we can't make you have a car. But the Office of Curricular Affairs has this little statement here that says that if you don't have a car, you are responsible for getting where you need to be with reliable transportation across all 4 years. So you've been kind of asked to be mindful of that. So whether if you're coming without a car, you're going to rely on rideshare service, then that's your thing. You need to make that sure that's a reliable way for you to get where you need to be. Or you want to share a car with a roommate or something. It's got to be reliable transportation to get you where you need to be. Can you bike to school? Yes, generally yes, but some days it does snow here, so maybe riding a bike is not, the best choice. There are bike racks in the garage across the street from here. I'm told they're going to be putting bike racks here on the health education campus. And there is an RTA pass. Every couple years, the classes vote if they want to have the RTA pass or not included in their tuition. Currently, it is. I don't know when that comes up for vote again, but that is included in your tuition, and the RTA pass is $75 a semester. And again, the bus system around our area here is pretty robust, and there's a bus stop right outside our building here. Parking is around the corner, and we'll talk about parking as we get a little bit closer to the end of May, beginning of June. That's when registration for parking begins. So nothing you need to do now, or you can't even register for parking now. But if you register for parking at the lot around the corner from here, you get access to the Cleveland Clinic garage, which is right behind us, right across the street here for after 5 o'clock and weekends. So more about parking later, but there is parking for near the school right around the corner. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath here. I'm going to say thank you for listening, and hopefully you found this helpful. If you're coming for open house next Saturday, hopefully this helps give you a little bit of a kickstart if you want to start looking for properties. We'll also post these slides and the recording on the housing page on Accepted Central. So if you want to go back and rewatch things or, click through the slides again, we'll have that there for your convenience. Or if you want to share the video with family or something like that, you can do that too. But anyway, so I'll say thank you. I got a bolt, but I'm going to leave you in good hands with Tom McKenzie and Dr. Kathy Lee, and they're going to answer your questions. And also thank you to them now, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys. See ya.
Thanks so much, Christian. So I know that was a lot of information that was kind of in a short period of time there. So I know some of you have been asking or dropping some of your questions in the chat. We love to see faces. I see many of you have your cameras on, so thank you. If you want to turn your camera on, that's great. We are happy to take any questions you have about housing, moving to Cleveland, or anything at all right now. So again, this is recorded. It's going to be put on Accepted Central. You can watch it again as a little bit of a refresh. You know how to get a hold of us, right? So you can also email us if anything comes up after. Now I sound like we're interviewing again. Anything comes up after you leave today, you can reach out to us. But there was a question that came to me in a private message about what percentage of students have roommates? Now that's a tough question to answer. I think I know many medical students that live together. I think that's becoming more and more common, especially from a financial standpoint. I guess I don't know the answer to that. I think it might really just vary by the year, but I would say there's a very good percentage. So hope that help can give some context there. And like Christian said, we'll be sharing kind of just a Google Sheet. If you're interested in having a roommate and that's something you would like to do for yourself, you'll have opportunities to see other people that have that same thought and whatnot too. So, okay.
Can I ask a question really quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth. Thank you, please.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to ask questions. So it seems like most people are living like very close to campus. Is there a maximum distance or like time to drive time that you would suggest? Like, are students coming back and forth a lot, or are they staying at the HEC?
I guess that just depends on, I think your lifestyle, well, what you like, right? I mean, Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights are about as far out as I know that students typically live. And I think it could be up to about 15, maybe up to 20 minutes from Shaker Heights, maybe even 25 by the time you park and walk. That's probably the longest commute that I've at least seen. This is my 7th year here, so in my tenure. I suppose there's other individuals that may live farther out. I just haven't heard about it. But I think probably I would say almost half the student body, if I had to put a rough estimate on it each year, are likely going to live in this University Circle neighborhood within a 2-mile radius of the health education campus. And the vast majority of the others will likely live, Cleveland Heights, Coventry, Tremont, and all the other locations that were shared. But I know Cleveland Heights is also very popular. I think students could go back and forth a lot. It just depends. If you're within walking distance, that makes it easier. I think it really just depends on the student. I don't know, Dr. Lee, if you've had different interactions or would have anything to add.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It depends on the students. Some students really love to be that close where they can walk back and forth at different parts of the day. Other students are like, when I leave, I want some distance and I want to go home, and that be that. Remember, you do have a locker here. All first and second year students also have a locker. So it's not like you have to go home and have lunch or, oh, I'm going to the gym, I need to go home and change. Like, you can bring all of that stuff with you and put it in your locker for the day and kind of, have that opportunity as well. So I think, like Tom said, I have heard of students living like even up to, 25 minutes away, or they have relatives in the area that they want to stay with. And so sometimes that means they're out a little farther, but yeah, I'd say 25 minutes is probably a good radius from the university. There's just so many places to live in that 25-minute radius. Most people don't want to live beyond that. So yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you both. I appreciate your help.
Yeah. I see a message came to me in the chat privately, but the question is about registration for parking. the question is parking on a first come, first served basis, and are there usually enough spots for students who may need to drive to campus? Yes, it is first come, first serve, and yes, there always have been enough parking spaces for those that would like to purchase parking and therefore probably are driving to campus. Please don't stress about parking right now. You don't have to do anything right now. You do not need to. I think June, usually it's the first week of June. We don't know the date yet, so don't need to mark your calendar. If you apply at midnight on June 3rd or whatever the date is, you don't really need to do that. I think that you will be okay with parking. It's a pretty big lot. I haven't heard of students getting shut out of that lot in several years. So yeah, but when we have more details about parking, we're going to let you know. So we'll have more of a lowdown when the date approaches. So please don't worry about that if that applies to you. You will get a place to park, and it will be, I would think, within walking distance of our building. I feel very confident in saying that. I'm looking at the chat now for another question. Are there any specific areas around campus that students generally find less convenient or less ideal due to factors like safety, transportation, or amenities? Of everything that we just shared and everything that Christian, all the different locations that you kind of have heard about in this talk, I wouldn't say not really. I think that I have heard a lot of students do not really live downtown. Just the cost of living in downtown, I think, is quite comparable to what you will have here in University Circle. And if you're going to, pay what that might cost potentially to live downtown, you might as well live within walking distance of the health education campus. So I think that's maybe kind of the mindset there. Yeah. So outside of that, I can't think of anywhere that's really less ideal. I mean, the surrounding areas of Case Western, of this building, and also like throughout the campus is patrolled by our campus security, and it is a very safe and very well lit, a very pedestrian friendly, I would say, neighborhood and community. So I wouldn't say that there are less ideal areas from anything you've seen there. That would result in maybe feeling unsafe or anything like that. I worked with medical students a lot through my tenure here, and I haven't heard of anyone having anything happen to them around this area and all the areas that you have seen in this talk that have kind of given me the idea this is a little less safe in this area. I don't think you will have that kind of thing here, with all the different neighborhoods you've heard about. Looking at the chats here, feel free to put your messages in the private chat or in the public chat. You don't have to privately message me. If you'd prefer to do that, that's fine too. If you don't want, you want to remain anonymous, I suppose. Are there any? Is there an exact percentage of students that have a car? What percentage of students have cars? I don't know the answer to that one either. I will share that you're expected to have access to reliable transportation. You get into the third and fourth year, you really have to have a car. Otherwise, you're going to be very, very limited on where you will be training in your clinical sites where you are able to train. Do I know students that are in their first 2 years and don't have cars? I do. Yes, the vast majority of students own cars. Cleveland does not have like you have like a subway system in New York City or a train system in Chicago. We don't have a public transportation system that is quite that robust. We do have the RTA. It does take you. There is a stop here in our University Circle neighborhood. It takes you all the way to the airport, all the way to Shaker Heights on the east side. The RTA station is technically walkable from the health education campus, but you're looking at probably a good 20-minute walk. I have seen students take the RTA. You can take bikes on the RTA. I have seen that as well. But I think you've definitely want to maybe plan to have a car if you're living outside a University Circle, and really access to a car and reliable transportation, truly. But like Christian said, we can't require it, but gotta probably have a car. Another question asked, do M3 and M4s typically move somewhere else for clinical core rotations, or are they in the same place living for all 4 years? I think that typically depends on you. I think you're going to meet a lot of different individuals throughout your time as a medical student here. I think your relationships might, evolve and change over time. So I think that depends on you. I do know many medical students that they live somewhere in their first year. They're going to move to a different apartment in their second year. They've gotten to know Cleveland a little bit better and they're ingrained here. And, for my second year, I kind of want to live in this location, and that's great too. For your third and fourth year, I think kind of the same drill. I think it kind of depends on, get a good idea where you're going to be training and you kind of see where that's going to lead. So I see Christian's back. Hi, Christian. We're still taking some questions, so you didn't
That's
miss
awesome.
one.
I heard the second part of that question. Yeah, I agree with Tom. I know some students, if they're going to do find out a lot of their rotations are going to be by near Metro Health, which is on the near west side, and that Ohio City, West 25th area, they move over closer to Ohio City, just to be like kind of down the street from the hospital. So just like Tom said, it depends. Just
Yeah.
depends on what you want to do.
There's another question that has messaged me about when would you suggest we have final housing plans made? If we're waiting on, other school decisions rolling out in the next few months. We start class on July 7th, I believe, is the first day. And so we're probably looking at getting a July lease, most likely. So, our commit to enroll deadline, I believe, is June 2nd, right, Christian? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think June 2nd, if you're committed to enroll, I start to finalize those housing plans. So, okay.
Yeah, that's question has come up in the past, and the longer you wait to make a commitment, that the availability of apartments, it might change too over the summer. I mean, you're one of the first incoming groups, I think, one to start, because we start July 7th, like Tom said. Everybody else kind of starts at the end of August. So the longer you wait, the more availability of a variety you have available earlier on. But everybody else coming here, whether it's law school, business school, the grad programs and undergrads, they're going to be keeping their eyes on those properties too. So it just depends on when you want to make that commitment, and then what you have available at that time.
Is the housing roommate tool, we have a question, specific to incoming M1s, or does it include students from all years?
Historically, we've made it for incoming M1s.
Yeah, I know,
remember
but I
having
guess now
some
I'm thinking
students
it
like
might
ask like, "Hey, remember that thing? Can I put my name on it?" So maybe we can open it up to the rest of the current students, and if anybody wants to put their name on there, we can do that too.
Traditionally, it's always been just the M1
Yeah.
class, but maybe we'll add to that this year.
Shake it up this
that's a good
year.
point. Yeah. There you go. Well, good questions, everybody. Like I say, this is going to be recorded and put on our Accepted Central page here in the next day or two, and refer back to it. And again, questions, you know how to get a hold of us. I'll go ahead and just drop my email in the chat box here, and if anybody wants to do that. If you have things that come up that you have some questions about, you know how to find us. And it's good to see you all. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. See you
Take care,
later.
all.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.